Now, we need to talk about something that's often misunderstood and often avoided. Because if we don't get this part right, everything else just becomes harder. Now, bullying isn't random. It feels random when you're inside it, and it feels chaotic, and it actually feels very unfair, but from the outside, and after working with tens of thousands of children, the patterns are clear. Bullying follows power. Not strength, not size, not popularity, power. And power to a child is read through signals. Signals like body language, like emotional reactivity, like social positioning, and self-belief. This is where parents often feel uncomfortable because the fear is, are you saying my child caused this? No, I'm saying your child may be signaling vulnerability without realizing it. That is the big difference between victim shaming. What we are doing here is victim empowering. And signaling vulnerability isn't a character flaw, it's a skill gap. Think about it like this. When someone learns to drive, they don't signal uncertainty by choice. They signal it because they haven't built competence yet. They hesitate. They grip the wheel tightly and they overreact. Other drivers feel that uncertainty and respond to it. Children do the same thing socially. Bullies are not scanning for nice kids, they're scanning for reactive kids. Kids who flinch, kids who shrink, kids who show that the words landed. And again, this is not blame, it's mechanics. This is why bullying so often becomes repetitive. And once a child reacts emotionally, the bully gets feedback. Feedback reinforces behaviour. And behaviour that's reinforced just repeats. Now, this is why stopping a single incident doesn't always stop the pattern, because the pattern isn't the event. The pattern is the dynamic. And this is also why bullying is a transition. There is a moment, often subtle, where a child crosses from being just another kid to being perceived as a target. That moment might be a visible emotional reaction. It could be social isolation. It could be a change in their posture. It could be a moment of public embarrassment. But once that shift happens, the child's internal world often changes. They start anticipating harm, and anticipation changes their behaviour. They walk differently, they speak differently, and they hold themselves differently. And the environment responds to that. This is where many parents feel helpless, because they're doing everything they can externally. They're talking to teachers, they're reassuring their child, they're monitoring their behaviour, but the shift that needs to happen is internal and embodied. And this is why bullying follows children. New class, new school, new environment, same experience. And parents think, why does this keep happening to my child? The answer is not because there's something wrong with them. The answer is they haven't yet been taught how to break the pattern. And patterns can be broken, but only when they're understood. And this is also why bullying can be a fork in the road for your child. Every child who goes through bullying reaches a moment, sometimes conscious, sometimes not, where one of two things happen. They either internalize the experience, there must be something wrong with me, or they externalize it. This is a challenge I can handle. The first path leads to shrinking, and the second path leads to growth. And which path they take depends heavily on the guidance they receive during this transition. And this is where parents matter the most. Not by rescuing, not by panicking, but by training. There's another uncomfortable truth that we need to address here. Bullying can become a source of strength. Now, I need to be very, very careful how I say this, because timing matters. You never say this to a child while they're in pain, but when guided correctly, many people, including myself, have drawn a lot of strength from bullying experience later in life. Not because the bullying was good, because overcoming it rewired their sense of self. When I wrote the book, Not a Victim, I interviewed hundreds of adults, business leaders and athletes, entrepreneurs and really successful people all over the world. And a really surprising number of them traced their resilience back to the early bullying they experienced. They literally described it as the moment they learned how to persevere, how to stand up for themselves, and how to seek justice, how to build respect. They didn't become strong because of bullying. They became strong because they were guided through it correctly. Without guidance, bullying often fractures character. And that can lead a child to eventually become a bully themselves. But with guidance, it actually forges it. And this is why parents need to understand their own emotional triggers. Because, and I'm going to be completely frank with you here, your response shapes your child's meaning making. What I mean by that is, if you respond with fear, they will learn the world is dangerous. If you respond with anger, they will learn conflict is explosive. But if you respond with calm strength, they learn that challenges are manageable. Your nervous system becomes their reference point. And this is where parents unknowingly derail progress. They replay the story constantly. They analyze every detail and they ask the same questions again and again. What did they say? How did that make you feel? Why didn't you tell me sooner? Now, these questions come from love, but they can also anchor a child in the event instead of moving them forward. Now, the goal is not to relive the bullying. The goal is to outgrow it, right? But that actually requires a shift in focus from what happened to what do we train next? This is also why the idea of bully-free schools is so misleading. I've worked with incredible schools all over the world, and I've worked with dedicated school teachers with strong, impressive leadership, and I've never seen a truly bully-free environment, because bullying isn't just policy-based, it's human, and it shows up whenever power dynamics exist. Schools want you as a parent to believe that their environment is bully-free. Right? They want to reassure you as a parent that one of the most horrible experiences your child can go through will not happen in their school. They want to fill you with that reassurance and trust. But the reality is, bullying is an ugly part of the human condition where children are learning about themselves, insecurity, and the challenges of socialization. Now, the solution isn't elimination. The solution is preparation. And preparation changes outcomes. But before we move on, I want you to pause and reflect on this question. Has your child's confidence changed since the bullying started? Not just emotionally, but physically. Do they walk differently? Do they speak more quietly? Do they avoid eye contact? If the answer is yes to any of those things, it's not failure, it's information. And information is power. If any of this is resonating at this stage, subscribe to this channel, because in the next section, I'm going to walk through the uncomfortable truths about bullying, the ones that feel confronting at first, but that unlock real change when understood properly. We're going to go even deeper. I just released a full no-fluff workshop breaking down everything I know about bullying, the uncomfortable truths, the mistakes that parents make, and the exact 6-step system that has helped thousands of children transition through bullying, the stuff that actually works. So, if your child is being bullied, or you want to make sure they never become a victim of bullying, then watch the full video. Make sure you subscribe, because this is the work that changes your child's life.